Red Bull hasn't lived up to fans' expectations in the last 3 races, and this might be a recurring issue throughout the 2024 season. It's not new for the Austrian team to spot problems in their car. They've been dealing with these issues since 2022. But why are they suddenly struggling with these problems now? And what does this mean for their 2024 season? Especially with Ferrari and McLaren making big improvements, it's clear that Red Bull set a high standard with their 2023 performance, winning 21 out of 22 races and achieving a 95% win rate, which other teams couldn't match. In 2024, the Austrian team has already lost 3 out of the first 8 races. They expect more problems throughout the season because of a big issue with their RB20 car. This problem isn't actually new. It was also present in their RB18 and RB19 cars. Before, Red Bull's cars were so much better than the others that they could hide this flaw. But now, the problem is obvious. The ride height and suspension of the car are being closely looked at. Red Bull is trying a new design that Mercedes tried in the past 2 years, which didn't work well for them. Although Red Bull's zero-pod design is not exactly the same as the one Mercedes used in 2022 and 2023, they are quite similar. The ironic thing is that the Austrian team had to go for this design because they can't make the RB19 any better, which means they ended up creating a car that works well only in very specific conditions. Mercedes has had this kind of problem too, so it will be interesting to see how Red Bull fixes it for the 2024 season. But where is this problem most noticeable? As seen in Monaco, the car struggles with riding over curbs and bumps without becoming unstable. This instability is mostly due to the car's ride height and stiff suspension. To make matters worse, Red Bull found out their simulator didn't show this curb issue, causing a mismatch between real-life performance and testing. Now, Red Bull's car can't handle curbs as well as their competitors. On bumpy tracks, the team will have to raise the car's ride height a bit to avoid bouncing and instability problems. Interestingly, Red Bull was the only team able to keep their car very low to the ground without causing a problem called porpoising. However, with the new car design, they can't do that anymore. If they raise the car, it could make things worse for the team. Helmut Marko explained, "Our car is designed to be very good aerodynamically, but we can't lift it higher off the ground without losing a lot of downforce. I think we still have an advantage on regular tracks. If we're not ahead in Barcelona, then we will have a real problem. On tracks where we're not the best, we can rely on Verstappen. He is in great shape and can make a big difference." The aerodynamic balance of the car has been the main advantage Red Bull had over the other teams during this period of regulations. However, with the significant progress made by Ferrari and McLaren, it seems this advantage has disappeared in just a few races. When we closely examine Red Bull's suspension, it appears that their new design might be causing some concern for the team. Since 2022, Red Bull has used a pull rod design at the front and a push rod design at the rear. This setup influenced other teams to follow suit, although a few, like Ferrari, did not. Even though Red Bull has optimized this design since they first introduced it in 2022, it illustrates that refining a system doesn't necessarily keep you far ahead of others. While the main focus of the improvements has been on the suspension's movement and efficiency, there's still potential to tweak this area further to gain better aerodynamic performance. This would help the drivers handle the current problem with curbs more confidently. But while the team was trying to improve their car's aerodynamics to get ahead of everyone else, they may have gone too far and messed up some of the car's comfort and handling. Red Bull's main strength is in the complex design of their car's floor and its height from the ground. This design has caused problems for their competitors, but it might not be helping Red Bull right now. The team needs to figure out the perfect settings for their car. This has become more difficult because of a new design that removes about 80% of the sideboard area compared to 2022 and 2023. They have to balance losing ride height with gaining better aerodynamics. This is a tricky situation. For instance, Mercedes couldn't find these perfect settings and had to abandon their design at the end of the 2023 season. Now, Red Bull faces a challenge. They need to slightly reduce their suspension's performance to gain a big aerodynamic advantage. If they can do this, they will likely be far ahead of their rivals. However, it's very difficult to accomplish, especially when other teams using similar suspensions, like Racing Bulls, aren't having these problems. The problems are not just with the car's design. They also involve how many drivers can get the best performance out of the RB20. In the last 3 races, Perez has been unreliable, not finishing the race in Monaco and having a poor qualifying session that saw him knocked out in Q1. He was outperformed by both Red Bull drivers and Logan Sargent. This shows that Red Bull is relying heavily on Verstappen. However, with McLaren and Ferrari close behind, and Ferrari only 24 points behind Red Bull, the Austrian team faces a tough challenge to maintain their lead. The Drivers' Championship isn't looking great either. Leclerc is just 31 points behind, making it a likely two-way battle between Verstappen and either McLaren or Ferrari. Strategy will be crucial for winning races. The upcoming race in Montreal will be a big test for Red Bull. The circuit requires good curb riding skills to maximize performance, especially during qualifying. Verstappen and Perez might struggle with this because they are not very happy with how the car handles the curbs. Additionally, the bumpy surface of the Montreal track, even after being resurfaced, could cause them further issues. Right now, we can see that Red Bull's main problems come from using a high downforce aerodynamic setup that doesn't work well at low speeds on bumpy tracks. Monaco highlighted these problems a lot, but it wasn't the first time they've come up. Remember the only race Red Bull lost in 2023? It was in Singapore, showing they can be vulnerable. Even though Red Bull had a big lead over other teams, it wasn't very exciting back then. However, when the top 5 drivers are separated by just 1 to 2 tenths of a second, a small mistake like missing a braking point or taking a corner a bit slower could decide who gets pole position or wins the race. To fix their issues, Red Bull might need to increase the ride height of their car to avoid instability. But doing this would make them lose a lot of downforce and take them out of their good performance window, potentially making them the 3rd fastest car behind McLaren and Ferrari on many weekends, including Montreal. In summary, we're in for an interesting season. With Verstappen facing strong competition, Red Bull needs to figure out if they can fix these issues on tougher circuits before the 2026 season begins. What do you think about the problems with the 2024 Red Bull car? Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below. See you in the next video.